Mr. Benedict, I'm very glad to meet you. You have an important position in the Libertarian Party in the USA. Are you the chairman or?
My title is executive director. We have the way this party is structured, there's a chairman and a board, and then I'm the hired staff. So I work full time for the party, and we have a staff of 7 or 8 here in Alexandria, Virginia that serves our state affiliates. We have organized affiliates in all 50 states in the United States, and so that's what my job is. But my primary role is raising funds to fund the party activities, also to provide support for our candidates and in the 50 state affiliates.
Okay. I think as Libertarian Party in the USA, you have the advantage that you have a long tradition and that libertarian thinking has deep roots into the USA, into the thinking of into the mind of the people. In Germany, we are in a complete other situation. I am the chairman of the Libertarian Party in Germany. It's called the Freedoms Party, the Libertarians. Our party is still very new, only half a year old, very small, and we are very isolated because libertarian thinking isn't really widespread in Germany. What would you, with your experience, recommend the libertarians in Germany? What should we do, in your opinion?
Well, I mean, that's a tough question. There's a lot of things you could do. Number one, do something. You can, libertarians here in the U.S., sometimes they organize booths where we go out and explain what the libertarian philosophy is and what will we do if we had our policies implemented in government. But what I'd say the number one thing that we do here in the U.S. is we recruit candidates to run for office, and that gives us a platform, and it gives us the opportunity to reach hundreds of thousands of people. It's one thing to go around talking to your friends or arguing with your friends or going to a public event and trying to convince people that they should support libertarian views. But when you have candidates who run for office, and we are a political party, so we run candidates for political office, those candidates get hundreds and thousands of dollars of free publicity for our issues. So whether you win an election or lose an election, the fact that we have libertarian candidates running for office, running for Congress, we're there saying, hey, Republicans, and here in the U.S., Republicans love to support war and the military. We're like, but they say they're for smaller government, for lower taxes. Well, if you want to save money, how about not supporting so many wars? The military is a huge portion of our budget here. We spend more than all the rest of the world combined on the military. Let's save money, lower taxes by not getting involved in so many wars throughout the U.S. On the other flip side, when it comes to dealing with Democrats and reaching out to the left here in the U.S., we are the party that's also for freedom on all issues. That means free speech. That means you should be able to say whatever you want. So Democrats aren't always for that. Sometimes they want to regulate speech. As well, we're for ending the war on drugs. We're for ending the Patriot Act. It used to be that Democrats supported civil liberties and thought that you should have privacy and should be able to say and do what you want. Oh, well, Edward Snowden helped point out that that's not the case. That's not what's going on here in the U.S., and it's going on. The Patriot Act was implemented by George Bush, but Democrats have continued it. President Obama talked about ending the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, but he's continued those wars. He's continued funding them. Our military spending is even higher with President Obama than it was with President Bush before him. So those are issues that I care about, libertarians care about, but no one listens to you here in the U.S. unless you're running for office for something. When you run for office, they start printing your opinions and viewpoints on the front pages of the newspapers. They start covering you on television. So, and it also gives libertarians something to work on. If you're a small group, and I don't know the election law details in Germany. The situation may be different. What makes sense for you all to do here, but here, people will sign on to our website saying, hey, I like the libertarian views, I want to do something. It can be hard for us to find something to do, but if there's a candidate running for office, it's like, well, great, contact that candidate, let's volunteer for him, let's help get the word out about his campaign and about the libertarian viewpoints through those campaigns. So the number one thing I advocate is running for office to get the libertarian viewpoints out there. And I don't know the laws in Germany, but if it's legal to file and run for office, that's how you get started. And maybe you get 5 votes the first time, and maybe you get 500 or 5,000 the second time out, and people hear about you, and you grow from there.
Well, I'm very glad that you say this, because this is exactly what we plan to do. In my hometown, in Cologne, there are elections to major this year, and I will run for office. Okay. And my key issue will be that I demand, if I am elected, Cologne should leave the Federal Republic of Germany and should succeed as a little independent state. We will call this state Great Empire Cologne. So, of course, most people will say this guy is mad, but so we get attention, and then we come out with issues like succession, that every state and every town should have the right to succeed from a bigger political structure. So I think this is a good idea to break through the isolation, which is the problem of the libertarians in Germany. What do you think? Make this sense as a concept? A little bit provocation also?
Well, you'd make a good Texan. If you ever moved to the United States, Texans like to talk about seceding from the rest of the U.S. I think it could be a good idea. It depends on how you present it, with how you follow up on that. If you're talking about the reasons for secession are because you are not satisfied that the government is giving you enough freedoms, then that's the right thing to do. Are you for lower taxes, smaller government, less federal control of what you're doing at the local level? I think that's a good thing. And maybe I'm not an expert on everything going on in Europe, but I think Switzerland has some kind of system where can't local groups switch from one state to another or something. Are you familiar with what I'm talking about? It's like the canton system or something. Anyway, I shouldn't be talking about something that I don't know enough about on camera. But the fact that there's a threat to secede causes the government to pay attention and perhaps to listen to what your grievances are. And a group that secedes from the rest of the country, it may or may not be a good group. So to me, I want to hear what the good things are that you're for, and I presume since you're a libertarian, you're going to talk about smaller government, free markets, personal liberties, those kind of things. And if you're doing that, I think it could be a good idea.
Yes, of course we will do this, and we'll say that this Great Empire Cologne has to be a little a minimum state.
Yeah.
Yes, low taxes and all this stuff. This is very important to make this point, of course.
Yeah.
Another point that is very important, and a big problem for the libertarians in Germany, is a political movement also needs partners. I think in the USA, the conservatives can in some points be partners of the libertarians, because libertarian thinking is widespread. But in Germany the situation is the complete other. The conservatives in Germany are nearly to 100% very statist. So we have no partners, no allies, for example. Mm-hmm. What would you do about this? What is your recommendation to solve this problem?
Well, I don't have a quick solution for solving that. I mean, you have to start with changing one mind at a time, and sometimes movements take off all of a sudden when you least expect it. So if there's a few of you out there advocating for more freedom and more libertarian policies, you just got to convince another person and hope they join in and convince other people and hope that it catches on and takes off. But I don't have the solution for how to make it magically happen quickly. But as long as you're trying, it might happen one day. So that's all I can say is try. We have some successes here in the U.S., but it's not, not everything's the way I'd like it to be, and that's just reality. And who knows? I mean, the United States we have freedom in many ways, but we're drifting away from freedom in many ways as well. Meanwhile, there are there's over 200 countries in the world, and some of them are becoming more free, and we don't, it's a market for freedom in the world. We don't know who's got the best ideas or what'll work, but I'm hopeful that some other country, the U.S. used to lead the way on freedom. Now some other countries are, and let's see how it goes. But Germany, we used to joke about Canada being less free than the United States. Now there are studies that are showing Canada's more free than the United States, and to me it's good that other countries exist so that they can find their way towards freedom and show the rest of the world. So keep trying in Germany. You may not have the success you want to have in Germany, but you might inspire others in other countries to keep trying as well. So, every bit that you try helps, and I do think there's some libertarians in the U.S. who are trying to help set up an international organization. I don't know if you've met Jeffrey Neal, the former chair of the National Libertarian Party here in the U.S., but he's trying to band together libertarians in other countries to share ideas.
Another very important point are international issues, I think. The USA is intervening in whole countries in the world, and for example, one poll says one should stay neutral. I think that this is a good position. I think, and my wish is that Germany is neutral in these issues too. If my party is someday really elected, the first thing I would do as a councillor is to leave the NATO and the European Union. What do you think about this? Do you agree with this?
Yes, I agree with that, and I think Ron Paul's foreign policy is exactly the foreign policy that I would support. And the bad thing right now is the United States is setting a bad example for the rest of the world. We're becoming a smaller economic, we're a smaller piece of the world economic pie. China's growing, other countries are growing, and we're not setting a good example for them. So, one day when China's bigger and stronger than the U.S., they're going to use our practices. They're going to use our words against us and say, well, you went to Iraq, you went to Afghanistan, you had your military active in Central America, and you had embargoes against Cuba. Why shouldn't we do all the things that the United States did for decades? So I do think it's important. Ron Paul has the right foreign policy, and I'm glad that you would support the same kind of policies, a non-interventionist policy. Even when sometimes bad things happen in other countries, it's the fact that you authorize your military to do something, even if you think it's for a good cause, you're authorizing force against others, and others are going to use that same logic, and they're going to do bad things against others. So we need a foreign policy just like what Ron Paul supported, and that's the Libertarian Party's policy on foreign policy.
Great to hear. I completely agree. Mr. Benedict, thank you very much for taking the time for this interview. It was a great pleasure to talk to you.
All right,
thank you very much.
Nice to meet you. Thanks for being here. Thanks for coming to Students for Liberty.